The last conversation I had with my mother lasted less than 2. She looked directly into my eyes, and then she said 4 words that made no sense at all. Never open the box. I frowned. What box? Her eyes widened, as if she wanted to say more, as if there was something important she desperately needed me to understand. But no words came, only silence. A few seconds later, she closed her eyes, and the conversation ended forever. 3 days later, she was gone. The funeral passed in a blur. People spoke about how kind she was. She was gone. I spent most of the day sorting through her belongings, old photographs, books. Of Mom. I read the note twice, then a third time. My heart pounded louder with every word. Burn it? Forget it exists? Why? What could possibly be inside? For nearly 20 minutes, I sat there staring at the box. Part of me wanted to obey her. She was my mother, the person I trusted more than anyone. If she didn't want the box opened, there had to be a reason. But another part of me couldn't stop wondering. What secret was important enough to protect even after death? Eventually, curiosity during birthdays, not during holidays, not during those late-night conversations families sometimes have when old memories surface. Nothing. If Noah had existed, someone had gone to extraordinary lengths to erase him. I picked up my phone. There was only one person left who might know the truth. My Aunt Susan, my mother's older sister, the woman who seemed to know every family secret before anyone else. She answered on the second ring. "Daniel? Hi, Aunt Susan." Something in my voice must have alarmed her. I promised your mother. Promised her what? That I'd never tell you. I felt frustration rising. Tell me what? Susan looked directly into my eyes, and for the first time that day, I saw genuine fear. Not sadness, not grief, fear. The day Noah disappeared changed this family forever. The room suddenly felt colder. What happened to him? She swallowed hard. Nobody knows. The answer hit me like a punch. What do you mean nobody knows? No clues, no suspects, no body, nothing. For 25 years, nothing. Eventually, Susan stood and walked toward a hallway closet. She returned, carrying a small brass key. The metal looked old, worn smooth by time. She placed it carefully on the table between us. I stared at it. What is this? Your mother gave it to me. When? Years ago. Why? Susan hesitated. Then she said something that made my stomach tighten. In case you ever found the photograph. I looked from the key to her face. Suddenly, every nerve in my body felt awake. What does it open? She took a deep breath. The hidden room. I frowned. What hidden room? Susan's eyes filled with tears. The one beneath your house. For a second, I thought I had misheard. My house. The house I'd grown up in. The house I'd lived in for almost 30 years. What are you talking about? There is a room behind the basement wall. I laughed nervously. That's impossible. No, Daniel. Her voice was shaking now. It isn't. The room fell silent. Then Susan pushed the key toward me and whispered the words that would change everything. Your mother kept Noah's room exactly the way he left it. I stared at the key, unable to speak, unable to think, because if what she was saying was true, then my mother had been hiding an entire room inside our house for more than 25 years. And somehow, I had never known it existed. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the photograph. The little boy standing between my parents. The words written on the back. The son we lost. Noah. The name felt strange, foreign, yet somehow familiar, as though it had always existed somewhere in the background of my life. Waiting for the day I would finally discover it. The brass key Aunt Susan gave me sat on the kitchen table. I stared at it for hours. A simple piece of metal, nothing special. Yet according to her, it opened a room hidden beneath the house I had lived in for nearly 30 years. A room I never knew existed. By midnight, curiosity had completely taken over. I grabbed a flashlight and headed toward the basement. The old wooden stairs groaned beneath my feet. Every sound seemed louder than usual. The house felt different now, less familiar, as though every room contained secrets. The basement light flickered when I turned it on. Yellow light spilled across shelves filled with boxes and forgotten belongings. I had been down there hundreds of times before, maybe thousands. Yet now I looked at everything differently, searching, looking for something hidden, something I had missed. For several minutes I found nothing. Then I noticed a section of wall behind an old metal shelving unit. Something seemed off. The concrete color wasn't exactly the same. I pushed the shelf aside. Dust filled the air. And there it was, a narrow door built directly into the wall. My heart began to pound. I moved closer. The brass key slid into the lock perfectly. For a moment I hesitated. A strange feeling settled over me. The feeling that once I opened this door, nothing in my life would ever be the same again. Then I turned the key. Click. The sound echoed through the basement. The door slowly moved inward. Cold air drifted out. Air that hadn't been disturbed in years, maybe decades. I shined my flashlight inside. At first, I couldn't understand what I was seeing. Then realization hit me. It was a bedroom, a child's bedroom, frozen in time, exactly as it had been left. The walls were covered with faded posters. Toy cars sat neatly on a shelf. A baseball bat leaned against the corner. Books rested beside a small bed. Everything looked untouched, as though someone expected a child to return at any moment. My chest tightened. This wasn't storage. This wasn't a forgotten room. Someone had preserved this place, carefully, lovingly, for years, maybe for decades. I walked slowly through the room, trying to imagine Noah here, trying to picture the life that had been hidden from me. Then I noticed the photographs, dozens of them, pinned to a bulletin board, framed on shelves, tucked between books. Every single one featured the same little boy, Noah, laughing, playing baseball, riding a bicycle, opening Christmas presents. And in every picture, my mother looked happy, happier than I had ever seen her. A lump formed in my throat. I realized something painful. My mother hadn't hidden Noah because she forgot him. She had hidden him because she never stopped loving him. Then I noticed a wooden cabinet beside the bed. Inside were notebooks, at least 20 of them, all carefully organized by year, all written in my mother's handwriting. I picked up the first journal. The cover was worn, the pages yellow with age. The first entry was dated 25 years ago. My hands trembled as I began reading. September 18th. Today, Noah disappeared. The words struck me like a punch. I continued reading. The entry described panic, police officers, search teams, neighbors gathering outside, hours turning into days, days turning into weeks. Every page carried the same emotion: fear, desperation, hope, then heartbreak. I read for nearly 2 hours, completely losing track of time, until one particular entry stopped me cold. The date was 6 months after Noah vanished. By then, police had exhausted every lead. Most people believed the case would never be solved. But my mother wrote something strange, something that immediately caught my attention. Today I saw him again. I froze. Saw who? I turned the page. The man from the park. The same man Noah spoke to before he disappeared. A chill ran through my entire body. There had been a witness, a suspect, someone Noah knew. Yet I had never heard about any of this. I kept reading. The handwriting became shakier, more emotional. I told the police. They don't believe me. Thomas doesn't believe me either. But I know what I saw. The man is still here, watching, waiting. I slowly lowered the journal. The room suddenly felt colder. The mystery was no longer about a missing child. There was someone else involved. Someone my mother feared. Someone she believed had been connected to Noah's disappearance. Then I opened the final journal, the newest one, written only months before her death. The last page contained a single sentence, underlined 3 times. If Daniel ever finds this room, tell him to look inside the red box. I stared at the words. My pulse quickened. Slowly, I scanned the room. Then I saw it, a small red box sitting on the highest shelf, waiting, as though my mother knew this day would come. And somehow, she had left the next piece of the mystery behind for me. For several seconds, I couldn't move. I simply stared at the red box. It sat alone on the highest shelf, covered in dust, waiting. My mother's final journal entry echoed in my head. If Daniel ever finds this room, tell him to look inside the red box. Not maybe, not if necessary. She knew I would find it. Somehow, years before her death, she knew this moment would come. I grabbed a chair and carefully climbed up. The box was surprisingly heavy. When I lifted it down, a thin layer of dust covered my hands. No lock, no label, nothing. Just a simple red wooden box. I carried it to Noah's desk and sat down. For a moment, I hesitated. Every answer I'd found so far had only created more questions. Part of me wondered if I should stop, close the box, walk away, pretend none of this existed. But that part disappeared quickly. I opened the lid. Inside were dozens of envelopes, every single one addressed to the same place, the local police department. My stomach tightened. None of them had stamps. None had been mailed. My mother had written letter after letter for years and never sent a single one. I picked up the oldest. The paper crackled softly as I unfolded it. Dear Detective Harris, I know you believe my son wandered away. I know the department has exhausted every lead, but you're looking in the wrong direction. Noah did not leave willingly. Someone took him. Someone he trusted. My pulse quickened. The same theme appeared again. Someone Noah trusted. The words kept returning. I grabbed another letter. This one was written 2 years later. The handwriting looked more desperate. I saw the man again today. He was sitting across from the grocery store watching me. The moment he noticed I recognized him, he left. I know he is connected to Noah. I know it. Please listen to me. I slowly lowered the paper. The room suddenly felt smaller. For 25 years, my mother had been chasing the same shadow, the same mystery, the same man. Then I found a photograph hidden beneath the letters. Unlike the others, this image wasn't faded. It was sharp, clear, recent. The photograph showed a man standing outside a diner. Gray jacket, baseball cap, dark sunglasses. Nothing unusual, until I turned it over. Written on the back were 4 words. He finally found me. A chill ran through my body. Found me. Not Noah. Not my family. My mother. The implication terrified me. Someone had been searching for her, and according to the note, they had succeeded. I continued searching through the box. At the very bottom lay a sealed envelope. Unlike the others, this one had my name written on it. Daniel. Only Daniel. Nothing else. My hands trembled. I immediately recognized the handwriting. My mother's. The letter had been waiting for me. All these years. I carefully broke the seal. The paper inside contained only 1 page. Daniel, if you're reading this, then I've run out of time. There is something I should have told you years ago. Something I was too afraid to say. Noah didn't disappear because he was taken. He disappeared because someone helped him leave. I froze. The sentence made no sense. I read it again. Then again. Someone helped him leave. My mind immediately raced. Who? Why? A child doesn't simply leave his family. Not at 5 years old. Not willingly. Not without a reason. I continued reading. For years, I believed I knew the truth. I believed Noah had been kidnapped. I was wrong. The truth is far worse. I stopped breathing. Far worse? What could possibly be worse than losing a child? Then I reached the final paragraph. The answer is inside the newspaper box beneath my bed. Please forgive me. Love, Mom. The letter ended there. No explanation. No answers. Only another clue. Another secret. Another mystery. I sat in silence staring at the page. The rain outside had grown heavier. Thunder rumbled somewhere in the distance. The house creaked softly around me. For the first time since finding the black box, I felt genuine fear. because every clue seemed to point toward the same conclusion. My mother hadn't been hiding the truth about Noah. She had been hiding the truth about herself, and whatever waited inside that newspaper box had frightened her enough to keep it secret for 25 years. I didn't wait until morning. The moment I finished reading my mother's letter, I left the hidden room. My heart was pounding so hard it hurt. The newspaper box beneath her bed. That was where she wanted me to look. That was where the next piece of the truth was waiting. I climbed the basement stairs 2 at a time. The house felt eerily quiet. Every creak in the floorboards made me jump. Every shadow seemed darker than before. For 25 years, my mother had carried this secret, and now she was handing it to me one piece at a time. I entered her bedroom. The room still looked exactly as she left it. A half-finished book rested on the nightstand. Her reading glasses sat beside it. For a brief moment, grief hit me again. I almost expected her to walk through the door and tell me to stop, to leave everything alone, but she wasn't coming back. Only the truth remained. I knelt beside the bed. At first, I saw nothing. Then my flashlight caught something hidden near the back. A small cardboard box, yellowed with age, wrapped in old newspaper. Carefully, I pulled it free. Across the top, written in black marker, were 2 words: "Do not throw away." My stomach tightened. I opened the lid. Inside were newspaper clippings, hundreds of them, every single one related to Noah. Missing child reports, police statements, search efforts, community fundraisers, years of articles, years of pain. Then I found something unusual. One article had been folded separately, protected inside a plastic sleeve. The headline read, "Local boy missing for 3rd day." I'd already seen similar articles, but this one was different. Someone had circled a paragraph in red ink. I leaned closer. My blood ran cold. According to the article, my father was the last person who saw Noah before he disappeared. I froze. My father. Not my mother. Not a neighbor. Not a stranger. My father. The room suddenly felt smaller. Why had nobody ever told me that? I kept reading. The article described the events of that evening. My father had taken Noah to a nearby park. At approximately 6:30 p.m., he reported the boy missing. Police questioned him. Neighbors searched through the night. The investigation began, but there was something strange. The article mentioned another witness, a woman walking her dog. According to her statement, she saw my father arguing with someone near the park shortly before Noah disappeared. I stared at the page. Arguing with who? The article didn't say. I searched through the rest of the box. Finally, I found another clipping. This one had never been published. It appeared to be a draft, an unfinished article. At the bottom, several paragraphs had been crossed out. One sentence remained visible. Police are investigating reports that the missing child's father may have withheld information during questioning. I felt sick. Everything I knew about my father suddenly felt uncertain. The man who taught me how to ride a bicycle. The man who helped me move into my first apartment. The man who sat beside my mother's hospital bed every day until the very end. Could he really have lied? Could he have hidden something this important? Then I noticed a sealed envelope taped to the bottom of the box. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was a cassette tape. Nothing else. No explanation. No label. Just a cassette tape. I stared at it in confusion. Then I noticed a small note folded beneath it. The handwriting belonged to my mother. "Danielle, I found this 6 years after Noah disappeared. Your father never knew. If you're listening to this, then you've reached the point where you deserve the truth." I felt a chill run through my body. Slowly, I turned the cassette over in my hands. On one side, written in faded blue ink, were 3 words. September 17, 1998. The day Noah vanished. My pulse thundered in my ears. Somewhere on this tape, a voice had been waiting 25 years to be heard, and I was terrified of what it might say. I stared at the cassette for a long time. September 17, 1998. The day Noah disappeared. The date alone was enough to make my hands shake. Somewhere on that tape was a piece of the truth, a piece my mother had hidden for more than 25 years. I immediately began searching the house. Old closets, storage boxes, cabinets, anything that might contain an old cassette player. Nearly an hour passed before I found one. buried inside a box in the garage, covered in dust, forgotten. Just like everything else connected to Noah, I carried it into the kitchen, placed the cassette inside, and pressed play. At first, there was only static. A low hiss filled the room. Then came the sound of wind, footsteps, voices in the distance. The recording quality was terrible, almost impossible to understand. Then a man's voice appeared. My father's voice. I recognized it immediately. "You shouldn't have come here." Several seconds passed. Then another voice answered. A stranger. Calm. Confident. "I don't think you understand the situation, Thomas." My pulse quickened. Thomas. My father. The stranger knew him. The tape continued. "What do you want?" My father sounded angry. Tired. Afraid. The stranger laughed softly. "I want what's mine." Silence. Then my father spoke again. "You're not taking him." The room seemed to tilt around me. Taking him? Taking who? I already knew the answer. Noah. The recording crackled. For several moments, neither man spoke. Then the stranger said something that changed everything. "He deserves to know the truth." I froze. The truth? What truth? My father replied immediately. "No, never." The stranger sighed. "You can't hide this forever." Another long silence followed. Then, footsteps. The sound of movement. And finally, one sentence. A sentence that would haunt me for days. "Sooner or later, he'll come with me." The recording ended abruptly. Static filled the room. I sat frozen, trying to process what I'd just heard. The stranger clearly knew Noah. Not only knew him, wanted him, and my father seemed terrified. Not angry, not surprised, terrified, which meant something even more disturbing. This wasn't a random kidnapping. This wasn't a stranger approaching a child. My father already knew this man. The question was why. I listened to the tape 3 more times. Each time I noticed something new. A pause, a tone, a detail I'd missed before. Then I heard it, a sound in the background, very faint, almost impossible to notice. A train horn. I immediately sat upright. The recording had been made near train tracks. That detail mattered. The park where Noah disappeared wasn't near any railroad, not even close, meaning the conversation happened somewhere else. Somewhere my father never mentioned. Somewhere police may never have searched. I pulled out an old town map, then another, and another, searching for train lines that existed 25 years ago. Eventually, I found one, an abandoned freight yard on the edge of town, less than 5 miles from where we lived, a place I had never visited, a place that no longer appeared on most maps. My stomach tightened. What if this was where the recording happened? What if answers were waiting there? By sunrise, I had already made my decision. I was going. The freight yard looked abandoned. Rust covered everything. Broken fences leaned sideways. Weeds pushed through cracked concrete. Nature had spent years reclaiming the place. Yet, something about it felt familiar. Important. I parked nearby and began walking. The wind moved through empty rail cars. Metal groaned softly in the distance. The entire place felt haunted. Halfway through the yard, I found an old building. A small office structure. Most of the windows were broken. The roof partially collapsed. But inside, someone had been there recently. Fresh footprints. Fresh tire marks outside. My heart immediately began racing. I wasn't alone. Slowly, I entered. Dust covered most surfaces, except one desk. Someone had cleaned it recently. Very recently. Then I noticed a photograph lying on top. Face down. My hands trembled as I picked it up. The image nearly stopped my heart. It showed my father, the stranger from the recording, and Noah, standing together, smiling, like a family. I stared at the photograph, unable to breathe, unable to think, because everything I believed about Noah's disappearance had just fallen apart. The stranger wasn't a kidnapper. He wasn't a random criminal. He knew Noah personally, and somehow, Noah seemed happy to be with him. Then I turned the photograph over. Written on the back were 5 words. "Tell Daniel I'm sorry." The handwriting wasn't my father's. It wasn't my mother's. And somehow I already knew exactly who wrote it. Noah, which meant one thing. My brother wasn't dead. My brother wasn't missing. My brother knew exactly what happened. And he had been alive all along. For several seconds, I couldn't breathe. I stood alone inside the abandoned freight yard office, staring at the photograph in my hands. My father, the stranger from the cassette tape, and Noah, all smiling, all standing, shoulder to shoulder, like they belonged together. Nothing about it made sense. For 25 years, I had believed Noah disappeared. For 25 years, my mother mourned him. For 25 years, our family lived with unanswered questions. Yet this photograph suggested something completely different, something far more complicated. Someone had lied. The only question was who. I took the photograph home. That night I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Noah's face. The resemblance was impossible to ignore. The same dark hair, the same eyes, the same smile. And yet, there was something else. Something I hadn't. I grabbed several family albums from storage. Then I placed Noah's picture beside old photographs of my father. For nearly an hour, I compared them. Finally, the realization hit me. Noah didn't look like my father. Not at all. I felt a chill run through my body. Growing up, everyone told me I looked exactly like Dad. Same eyes, same jawline, same smile. But Noah? Nothing. Not even close. The thought stayed with me all night. By morning, I couldn't ignore it anymore. I drove straight to Aunt Susan's house. The moment she opened the door, she knew something was wrong. What happened? I handed her the photograph. Her face immediately turned pale. Oh no. The words escaped before she could stop them. I stared at her. You know who he is. It wasn't a question. Susan slowly sat down, her hands trembling. For several seconds, she simply stared at the photograph. Then tears filled her eyes. The truth was supposed to die with your mother. My stomach tightened. What truth? She looked up, and for the first time since this nightmare began, she finally stopped hiding. The man in that picture, her voice cracked, was Noah's biological father. The room went silent. I stared at her, certain I had misheard. No. Susan closed her eyes. Yes. I felt the air leave my lungs. Everything suddenly became blurry. My mother had another relationship, another man, another life, a life she never told me about. Aunt Susan, my voice barely worked. Are you saying Noah wasn't Dad's son? She nodded slowly. The answer hit me harder than I expected, because suddenly, everything made sense. The arguments, the secrecy, the fear in my mother's journals, the stranger on the tape, the photograph, all of it. My father wasn't trying to keep Noah away from a kidnapper. He was trying to keep Noah away from his real father. Susan told me everything. 26 years earlier, before she met my father, my mother had been engaged to another man. His name was Richard Hale. According to Susan, Richard was charming, successful, intelligent, the kind of man everyone trusted. At first, but over time, things changed. He became controlling, possessive, dangerous. When my mother became pregnant, she left him. A few months later, she met my father, Thomas, the man who would eventually raise Noah as his own son, the man I called Dad. For years, Richard stayed away. Then one day he came back, and he wanted his son. Noah knew him? I asked quietly. Susan nodded. Eventually, my stomach dropped. Richard contacted him. Yes, without Mom knowing. At first, I suddenly remembered the cassette tape, the stranger's voice. He deserves to know the truth. Now those words made sense. Richard wasn't trying to kidnap Noah. He was trying to tell him who he really was. And Noah had listened. The next revelation hurt even more. According to Susan, Noah wasn't taken. He left. Voluntarily. At least as voluntarily as a 12-year-old could. After months of secret conversations, Richard convinced Noah to come with him. Promised adventure, promised answers, promised a better life. One afternoon, Noah simply disappeared, and Richard disappeared with him. My mother spent years believing she would get him back. Instead, she got silence. 25 years of silence. I felt sick, because for the first time, I understood the true tragedy. My mother hadn't lost Noah to death. She had lost him to a choice made by a confused child manipulated by an adult, a choice she could never undo. Before I left, Susan handed me something, a small envelope, yellow with age. My mother's handwriting covered the front. She wanted you to have this if you ever learned the truth. I opened it carefully. Inside was a single sheet of paper, a map. An address had been circled in red ink. Nothing else. No explanation. No note. Just an address. I looked up. Where is this? Susan's expression darkened. I don't know. Then she hesitated. But your mother did. My pulse quickened. You think Noah lives there? Susan looked away. I think your mother found him years ago. The room seemed to spin. What? Tears filled her eyes. She never told anyone. I stared at the map, unable to process what she had just said. If she was right, then my mother had known where Noah was. Maybe for years, maybe for decades. And she had chosen to keep the secret, even from me, even from herself. I folded the map carefully, my hands shaking, because somewhere at the end of that address, somewhere beyond 25 years of lies and secrets, my brother was waiting. And for the first time in my life, I was finally close enough to find him. The address was nearly 800 miles away, a small coastal town in Oregon. Population less than 10,000. The kind of place people moved to when they wanted to disappear or be forgotten. For 2 days I drove west. The entire journey felt unreal. Every mile brought me closer to answers I wasn't sure I wanted. What if Noah didn't want to see me? What if he hated our family? What if my mother had spent 25 years protecting a secret that was better left buried? The questions followed me the entire way, but there was no turning back. Not anymore. The town appeared just after sunset. The ocean stretched endlessly beyond the cliffs. Waves crashed against dark rocks below. The air smelled like salt and rain. Beautiful, quiet, peaceful. Nothing like the storm that had consumed my family for decades. According to the map, the address was only a few minutes away. My hands tightened around the steering wheel. I could feel my heartbeat in my chest. The closer I got, the harder it became to breathe. Finally, I turned onto a narrow road overlooking the water, and there it was, a modest white house. Simple, ordinary. A porch, a small garden, a pickup truck parked outside. Not the home of a criminal, not the home of a kidnapper, just a home, a real home. For a moment, I sat in the car staring at it, trying to gather the courage to move. 25 years of questions, and all of it had led here. Finally, I stepped out. The walk to the front door felt endless. Every step carried the weight of a lifetime. I raised my hand, knocked. Once, twice, then silence. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then I heard footsteps. The door opened, and my entire world stopped. A man stood before me, around 40 years old. Dark hair, broad shoulders, tired eyes. But it wasn't his appearance that shook me. It was the feeling. Something inside me recognized him immediately. Not because we'd met before. Because we were family. The resemblance to my mother was unmistakable. The same eyes, the same expression, the same quiet sadness. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then his gaze dropped to the photograph in my hand. The old photograph from the freight yard. His face changed instantly. He knew exactly who I was. Daniel? My heart nearly stopped. I had never told him my name, yet somehow he already knew. I swallowed hard. Noah? His eyes filled with tears. And slowly, he nodded. Neither of us knew what to say. How could we? You don't prepare for a moment like this. You don't rehearse conversations with a brother you never knew existed. Eventually, he invited me inside. The house was warm, comfortable. Family photographs lined the walls. A wife, 2 children, birthdays, vacations, a life, an entire life that had happened without us. Without my mother, without me. For a moment, I felt angry. Not at Noah, at time itself, at everything we'd lost, at all the years that could never be recovered. Noah seemed to sense it. I'm sorry. The words came quietly, barely above a whisper. I looked at him. For what? For all of it. His voice cracked. The lies, the silence, the years. He sat across from me, staring at the floor, like a man carrying a burden he could no longer hold. I wanted to come back. I remained silent. I thought about it every year. His eyes were wet now. Every Christmas, every birthday, every time I saw my kids. The room felt heavy, painfully heavy. Then he looked directly at me, but after a while, his voice broke. I didn't know how. For hours, he told me everything. The truth was uglier than I imagined. His biological father, Richard, had convinced him that our mother had lied, convinced him that she had stolen him, convinced him that she was the reason he couldn't know the truth. A 12-year-old boy believed what he was told, especially when it came from a parent. By the time Noah realized he had been manipulated, years had already passed. Then came shame, then fear, then guilt, and eventually the silence became permanent. I thought Mom hated me. The words hit me like a punch. What? Noah nodded. That's what Richard told me. I couldn't believe it. After everything I had read, after seeing the hidden room, after reading the journals, nobody on earth had loved Noah more than our mother. Yet he spent years believing the opposite. The tragedy was almost unbearable. Then Noah told me something that changed everything. Something I never expected. Mom found me. I froze. The room went silent. What? His eyes filled with tears again. 7 years ago, I stared at him, unable to speak, unable to think. All this time, all these years, my mother knew. She had found him. The realization hit me like a wave. Every journal, every letter, every secret, they all suddenly made sense. She came here? Noah nodded slowly. One afternoon, his voice trembled. I opened the door, and there she was. For a moment, neither of us spoke. I could almost picture it. A mother searching for 20 years, finally standing face to face with the son she lost, the son she never stopped loving, the son she thought she might never see again. Noah wiped tears from his eyes. Then he said something I'll never forget. She hugged me before I could say a word. The room fell silent, because that's exactly what a mother would do. Not ask questions, not demand explanations, just hold her child. After 20 years, she simply held him. The sun had already set by the time Noah stood up. He walked to a bookshelf, reached behind several books, and pulled out a sealed envelope. My stomach tightened immediately. The handwriting on the front was familiar. Mom's handwriting. Noah held it carefully, almost reverently. She told me to give this to you one day. I stared at the envelope, my hands shaking. When? The last time I saw her. A chill moved through my body. The last time. Somehow I already knew this wasn't just another letter. This was the final piece. The final truth. The truth my mother had spent 25 years protecting. And as I carefully opened the envelope, I realized I wasn't ready to read what was inside. For several seconds, I simply stared at the envelope. My mother's handwriting covered the front. The same handwriting that had guided me through this entire journey. The same handwriting that had hidden clues, secrets, warnings, and now, perhaps, the final truth. Noah sat quietly across from me. Neither of us spoke. The room was silent, except for the distant sound of waves crashing against the shoreline. My hands trembled as I carefully opened the envelope. Inside was a single folded letter, several pages long. I immediately recognized the date at the top. It had been written only 3 months before her death. I took a deep breath and began reading. My dear sons, if you are reading this together, then something wonderful has happened. You found each other. For many years, I wasn't sure that day would ever come. There were times when I lost hope, times when I believed I would leave this world without seeing either of you together. If that happened, I wanted you both to know the truth, the entire truth, not the version I told others, not the version I told myself, the real truth. I paused. Already tears blurred the words. Across from me, Noah wiped his eyes. I continued reading. The day Noah left was the worst day of my life. For years, I blamed Richard. For years, I blamed myself. Sometimes I blamed God, anyone, anything, because accepting the truth felt impossible. The truth was that I failed. I failed to understand how confused and frightened my son had become. I failed to see how deeply Richard had influenced him. And when Noah left, I spent years searching for someone to blame because blaming myself hurt too much. But eventually I learned something important. Love cannot survive inside blame, only forgiveness. I stopped for a moment. The room felt unbearably heavy. 25 years of grief seemed to pour from every sentence. Then I turned the page. Daniel, there is something you deserve to know. Your father was a better man than I ever told you. Thomas knew the truth. He knew Noah might never return. He knew Richard was manipulating him, yet he never stopped searching, never stopped hoping, never stopped loving Noah as his own son. People often think courage means fighting. Sometimes courage means staying. Sometimes courage means carrying pain without allowing it to make you bitter. That was your father. He carried pain for more than 20 years, and he carried it with grace. Please remember him for that. My vision blurred completely. All those years I thought I understood my father. Just like in the first letter, I had been wrong. There were sacrifices he never spoke about, burdens he never shared, and somehow that made me love him even more. I continued. 7 years ago, I found Noah. After decades of searching, after thousands of dead ends, after countless nights spent wondering if he was alive, I found him. I still remember standing outside his house, my hands shaking, my heart pounding, terrified, hopeful, broken. When the door opened, I saw my little boy again. Not the child, the man. And in that moment, every year disappeared. Every mile, every tear, every unanswered question. Nothing mattered except that he was alive. I glanced at Noah. Tears streamed down his face. Quietly, uncontrollably. For the first time, I realized something. My mother wasn't the only person who suffered. Noah had suffered too. For years, maybe decades. He carried guilt the same way she carried grief. Neither one knew how to cross the distance between them until it was almost too late. The letter continued. Noah wanted to come home, many times. But shame is a powerful prison. The longer he waited, the harder it became. Eventually, he believed forgiveness was impossible. I spent years trying to convince him otherwise. Not because I wanted answers, not because I wanted explanations, because I wanted my son back. The truth is simple. Parents rarely stop loving their children. No matter how far away they go, no matter what mistakes they make, love remains. That is both its greatest strength and its greatest burden. The ocean wind rattled a nearby window. The sound seemed strangely comforting, almost peaceful. I turned to the final page, and there, written near the bottom, were the words that broke me completely. Daniel, Noah, if I have learned anything in this life, it is this. Secrets protect us for a while, but eventually they become walls. Walls between families, walls between people who love one another. I spent too many years hiding behind those walls. Please don't make the same mistake. Talk to each other, trust each other, forgive each other, and most importantly, do not waste the time you still have, because time is the one thing no one gets back. Not mothers, not fathers, not son, not anyone. When you visit me, come together. That is all I've ever wanted. Love forever, Mom. The letter ended. No dramatic revelation, no shocking twist, just love. Simple, honest, unconditional love. For a long time, neither Noah nor I spoke. We simply sat there, two brothers separated for decades, united by a woman who never stopped loving either of us. 3 weeks later, we stood together at her grave. The sky was clear. The morning air felt cool against my skin. A gentle breeze moved through the trees. Noah stood beside me. His wife stood nearby. His children, too. Family. The family my mother had dreamed of seeing together. At last, I placed a small photograph against the headstone. The old photograph from the black box. The one that started everything. The one showing my mother, my father, and Noah together. For years, it represented loss. Now it represented something else. Hope. Second chances. Healing. Noah knelt beside the grave, his shoulders shaking. Quiet tears falling onto the grass below. "I'm sorry, Mom." The words barely escaped his lips, but somehow I think she heard them, because at that exact moment, the clouds parted. Sunlight touched the stone. Warm, gentle, peaceful. And for the first time since opening the box, I felt something I hadn't felt in a very long time. Peace. Not because every question had been answered, not because every wound had healed, but because the truth was finally free. The secrets were gone, the walls had fallen, and the family my mother spent 25 years trying to rebuild was finally whole. As Noah and I walked away from the cemetery together, I looked back one final time. The sunlight still rested on the stone, and somehow, Deep down, I knew. The box had never been meant to hide the truth. It had been meant to lead us back to each other, and that was the greatest gift my mother ever left behind.